How's it going, everybody? I am currently at the park with my dogs, and so if there happens to be an interruption, it's going to be because I'm making sure they're not getting into too much trouble. But other than that, I'm just sitting here alone at the park. Actually, my brother's over in my car chilling out, but I'm just figured, hey, I got a little bit of time right now. I've been busy a lot, that's why I haven't been able to post, but it'll keep coming out. Just give it time, patience. It's just a really bumpy time I'm in right now, and just certain things I'm dealing with. So other than that, I am here now to make a video. This will be a video study, and it's going to start in Matthew chapter 7. So if you want to go to Matthew, head there now. It's going to be chapter 7, verse 1. And if anybody knows their Gospels, knows the Bible, knows Matthew well, they'll know exactly what I'm pointing to right now and taking you to. It is where Jesus makes a statement about how we are supposed to judge each other as people rather than as God does. Like, for example, there's a moment where all these Pharisees and Sadducees are around a stone this woman who, if you know the Gospels, you know who I'm talking about. And Jesus tells everyone who's about to stone her, he says, "Let he who is without sin cast the first stone." And so that gives you an image of, who is it that is able to judge? Who's in the position to actually make judgment that results in death? Well, what does he say? He says, if you are without sin, you may cast the first stone. And so the only one standing there is Christ, who's without sin. But it's not as much about him trying to say, I'm the one who can do it. It's him saying, none of you can. None of you actually righteously can judge this woman. And if I held the measure that you hold to her, to you, you would be dying also. I'd be picking up my stone and stoning you too, because ultimately you're both guilty. And you just happen to be holding your double standard to this woman rather than yourself. And so when we come to Matthew 7, that's what the imagery is. It's not about saying you need to just not make judgments in the world, because that would be impossible. I have to make judgments every day. I have to know, certain things and make decisions about them based off of what I know about them. That's just a process of life. The point of Matthew 7, and I'll read it right now if you're there, he says, "Judge not, that you not be judged, for with judgment you pronounce, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you." So it's more about, if you're going to make an address about someone's sin, or if you're going to try to speak to them about it, or whatever it is, correct them in their error, however it is, he's saying, judge not, that you not be judged. And so it comes down to, like with the Pharisees, you throwing that stone, based off what Jesus is saying here, is ultimately throwing the stone at yourself, because you're using a means of judgment against someone that you don't use for your own self. And so that's why he's saying, with the judgment you pronounce, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. And so there's a big divide between people who just think this passage means to not make judgment at all, and people who realize what I'm saying, where he is actually saying, make judgment, but make sure you're in the right position to do so. Make sure that if you're making a point to tell someone, hey, you can't steal, you shouldn't be stealing, or that you want to get mad about someone stealing your things, well, are you stealing things? Are you making sure you're not stealing? And if you aren't, then the way in which you're judging this person will also be judged to you. And so, a big one, and I don't want to get too deep into this because it's not the point of the video, and I have no problem addressing it, but it's not the point of this video, but homosexuality. People all the time say, why do you gotta judge? Why do you be so judging about them? Well, it's not judgment. It's not like, hey, I don't like you, or hey, it's a matter of saying, look, I know who I am. I know the things I do wrong and the things I do right. And one thing I know that's wrong that I don't do is said thing, right? Homosexuality, theft, whatever, adultery, idolatry, cheating on your wife, which is adultery, but just there's things across the board where some people would say, how's that a problem? How's that, I should be able to cheat on my wife if I don't like her, right? And it's like, well, no, but not if you're a Christian. But anyways, so the point is that if you have a double standard, that's what it comes down to. If you're using double standards, you're gonna get burned, you're gonna get bit, because that's not how Jesus works. He says, judge not that you not be judged. So if you wish to not be found in certain judgment, don't worry about what other people are doing in means to that. Look, you only sin against God. You don't sin against men. And so if you steal something and you see someone else stealing something and you want to say something about it, first off, you have to realize when you stole something, you didn't really do anything wrong to that person, although you are called to love your neighbor. But who are you called to love your neighbor by? God. And so if you're doing those things wrongly, if you're being lawless and you're not adhering to what has been asked of you, then you ultimately become someone who has double standards. And so you have this set for yourself. There's a train coming by, so it might be loud, but you have a set for yourself, but you don't use that set for other people. You use a more strict and harsh set. So if you guys can, go to Ezekiel 3, chapter 3. So I just want to show you guys this in reference to judgment, and something that's an Old Testament passage, not just new, because what I read in Matthew is New Testament. So to give you a Old Testament sight on kind of making judgment, and if God asks us to make judgment or not. Listen to Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 18. If I say to the wicked, you shall surely die, and you give him no warning, you give him no warning, nor speak to warn the wicked from his wicked way, in order to save his life, that blood I will require at your hand. So right there it shows us that we are keepers of our brothers and other people we live with, that we ultimately hold them in check with these things, and based off of what God has said is right and what's wrong, we hold to that as our measure, as our standard, and then we hold to that the best we can, and we hold that and uphold that within the world to the best that we can. But obviously we can't perfectly, otherwise there'd be no reason for Christ. Christ came for that reason, that you could not live out that life, you could not be righteous, just, and holy before God, and so he came and died for that reason, so that you may be found in him and have eternal life. But just to read again, it says, if if I say to the wicked, you shall surely die, and you give him no warning, nor speak to warn the wicked from his wicked way, in order to save his life, that wicked person shall die for his iniquity, but his blood I will require at your hand. But it goes on, listen to this. It says, but if you warn the wicked, and he does not turn from his ways, or from his wicked way, he shall die for his iniquity, but you will have delivered your soul. And so we can't really argue with the fact that you have to tell people what's right and what's wrong. We have to live by a standard, and we have to uphold that standard. And so there's no getting around judging or making judgment. I mean, you make judgment on everything every day, and you may lie to yourself that you don't, but you do. And you don't even have to say something. It's just you look at something and a thought enters your mind, and boom, you've passed judgment. And so it's not an indictment. I'm not trying to make you guys feel like you're all bad and you have no right to tell anybody else. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying do as Jesus says. He says, take the log out of your eye before you try to make a point about the little speck in someone else's eye. Make sure that you're not just talking out your rear about things and making void of what you're trying to say, even if it may be right. If you're not doing it with love and honesty and truth, it's not gonna break through. And even with those three things, if the Holy Spirit isn't working within it, then there will be no fruit. That's just the dynamic of it. But that's our quick little study for today. It was just something that I always see, and it's been something in the Christian lifestyle that Christians deal with all the time, is having to tell people, like, no, it's not that you can't judge, you just got to go read it again and figure out what it really means, and we could go through that. But that's what this video is for. So if you do know someone who's like that, or if you have an issue conveying to them, use this video if you need, or dig in deeper and look for more scriptures, or comment and ask whatever it is that you would need or ask or need to know. But I try not to make these things too long, and I try not to make them too confusing or all over the place, because I realize that to the degree in which I know things isn't always the same as other people, and so I can't just, open the gates for the horses, because we'll just be everywhere too quick. So other than that, as I said, there will be more stuff coming. I've just been busy, and sorry for the train. I gotta watch this video, see if it's still viable. But anyways, other than that, thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe, like, share, and stay greater than.